This conference will now be recorded.
There we go. Okay, thank everybody for being on today's call. We'll just go around the room and introduce ourselves. So, Patrick.
All right, I'm Patrick Shannon, Pat Shannon, with Lolliman and Baking Solutions. I formerly worked at BBU with Ramon, way under his level, I'm sure. But I am tech support with Lolliman, so I deal with the enzyme side of the business.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Lee.
My name is Leah Roach, and I'm an account manager with DSM Food Specialties, and I specialize in Preventase, the acrylamide mitigation enzyme. And Bimbo is a great customer of DSM.
Thank you for joining us today, Leah. Simon.
Good morning, Simon Cowley, and I am program management for the Henry Group, based
Eric?
here in.
Go ahead, Simon. Finish.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Simon.
just we're down in Central Texas.
Thank you, Simon. Eric.
Eric Kartlick with Zeppelin Systems. We're an ingredient handler providing systems to Bimbo and obviously multiple other clients throughout the North America, in fact the world. And I handle key accounts for Zeppelin along with accounts on the East Coast and Southeast US.
Welcome, Eric. Rod.
Rod Harris with Stev. I am the guy that holds the coffee and has the pleasure to have a moment with Ramon. This is very nice in you guys. So we work out of Kansas City, Missouri, and we do ingredient handling systems.
Thank you, Rod. Mark.
Yes, I'm Mark Jagels, the Business Development Manager for Emerson Automation Solutions. And we are a provider of not only pneumatic components, but also are driving the last couple of years now the IIoT Industry 4.0 initiative with our key customers, including many in the baking industry. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Ross.
Morning, everyone. My name is Ross Sandlin. I am the sales director for AMF Bakery Systems, machine supplier to the bakery world. Thanks for having me.
Good morning, Ross. And caller number one, we don't see your name or your face, but somebody else is on.
Good morning. This is Bill. This is Bill Zimmerman. I'm having some technical difficulties this morning. I'm traveling, so not able to join via the internet. I am the director of national accounts for AB Maori Ingredients, and appreciate the opportunity to be on this morning.
Thank you, Bill. Amanda.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Amanda Gonzalez, Director of Member Relations for the American Society of Baking. It is a pleasure to see you all.
And I'm Kent Van Amberg, the Executive Director of ASB, and I'm located in Kansas City, Missouri. So today's host of our call is Ramon Rivera, and we'll be talking about some of the challenges in the supply chain. So Ramon.
Thank you, Kent, and thank you, Amanda, and thank you for having the time to have this conversation. And it's probably something we have been talking with your peers and with other groups. We want to share with you today about labor time. That is American.
Maybe Martin Zapata can mute his microphone because there's a lot of feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, I heard the same, but I believe now it's okay. So the topic for today is about then the talent and people and labor and retention. So let me start with a personal view of what have been happening in the last 20 months or 21 months, and that's a little bit of what I think about. So number one, pre-COVID, I believe we used to have talent and people and labor issues in the baking industry. The baking industry has been losing attractiveness to people coming to the workforce, maybe for many reasons, and we can discuss the conditions in the bakeries or the conditions in a route and things like that. And we have all these issues pre-COVID. But then about 20 months ago, we got into this pandemic emergency. And I would call the first stage of all this was about the developing and making sure we had the right safety protocols in all the locations. Many of us, the lucky ones that are working from an office, we were able to work from home. But the people in the bakeries and the people in the market, they were not so easy to do that, and they had to attend to work, and we had to establish very good safety protocols to make sure that people was going to be safe and we would be able to continue feeding America. So those two main things happened in the first stage. We started to have people with symptoms, and according to the protocols, a person that developed the main symptoms used to go for quarantine for at least 2 weeks. And then we started to lose people and lose labor in the bakeries. And I guess that was the same case for you in your companies. And then unfortunately, we started to have some people really sick, and that added to all the situation. For me, that is kind of the first stage, maybe the first 3 to 4 months of COVID. On top of it, fortunately, the market reacted very well to our products, and we had a spike in demand that was incredibly high at the beginning and still very high today after 20 months. So consumer habits have changed. So the demand for bakery products is higher than before. Number two, we started to have what I call probably the second stage of this thing in terms of people, and was that people started to leave from work, and some people started to resign. Some for very personal reasons. Some started to get the government support. All the different ways the government started to help people. And then we started to lose some people because it was attractive to just keep the bonuses and stay at home or do something different for some time. And that increased the issue with retention of labor, and that lasted probably another 4 to 6 months. People was actually leaving, and I'm gonna give you some numbers, but that was the second stage. And then the vaccine came, and it was very recently, but we had the vaccine, we had people being vaccinated, but still people leaving the workforce. And today, the number of open positions in the industry in general in the US is extremely high. And many people think, well, it's maybe because of working conditions in a bakery, it's maybe because the baby boomers are retiring, it's maybe because women at work, they cannot have a good child care support, and they have to stay at home. And many things accumulated to whatever happened pre-COVID are contributing to the labor constraints that we have today. And I don't believe it's a matter of the baking industry. I think it's global. And on top of it, that is impacting supply chain in many ways, from being able to get all the imports in the ports, all the number of containers that are stuck in for instance, in LA port. The last analysis I saw is that it's going to take at least 6 more months to be able to reduce the problem we have in the U.S. ports. And so that adds to everything we have. and of course the competition for people. So if you look at the market, everybody is suffering different ways to make sure they're able to hire and they're able to retain people. And on top of it, right now we have the vaccine mandate. For me, that is going to be the fifth stage. I don't know how is that going to end or how is that going to impact our industry at the end. I know we have different associations working and fighting and trying to provide different solutions, but the problem is big, and it's a major problem for all the supply chain. Then we go to chips, we go to equipment, we go to steel, we go to all of these things, ingredients, and that is a super complex problem. But everything starts, I believe, with being able to have the right talent and crew all of our bakeries completely, or your companies. And that's in general terms the context that I want to put on the table, and then have a conversation of that. So for me, probably the first question to the group would be, how much has this impacted you? And probably a second question would be, what are you doing in your area? What do you think is working? What is not working? So I would open the microphone for comments from you.
Thank you, Ramon. That was an excellent summary of what's been going on during pre-COVID, during COVID, and the different phases. So as Ramon asked, for everybody who's on the call, what impact has all the disruption in the supply chain had on your company, and what are you doing to address it?
Hey, good morning. Maybe I'll touch on this first. When COVID first started, we saw some customers have spikes in their demand. Others were delaying projects for various reasons. So overall, the balance, it sort of balanced out for our equipment supply. And we've deployed about probably six different projects for Grupo Bimbo over the last, or during the COVID period. And for the most part, the only significant impact we've had has been around electronic components, things for the control panel. We've done relatively well by pre-positioning material, trying to build our inventories early on items like steel, things we know we're going to use across our customer base. But things on the electronic side seem to be the hardest to come by. So we're being selective in our purchasing strategy, but because some of these components have a high dollar value to them. But overall, our workforce has been out there in the field through this entire time, dealing with the different safety protocols at different customer facilities. They've remained remarkably healthy, and it's been, it's a blessing that that's happened, because they're traveling, they're on the road, they're away from their families, but we've been fairly well untouched from the human resource side, and have been holding our own in support of customer projects.
I agree with you, Simon. Thanks, Ramon, for the summary. We're seeing what Simon has seen. We're seeing surprises on certain things that we deliver to clients. One of the biggest surprises that I just got 2 weeks ago was you will never think of it, just piping and elbows. In my industry, is critical. Everything's ready to go, and we don't have enough piping. So it's pretty impressive that we got surprised by that. The human factor has been critical. We have lost some people, and I don't know if you've seen this, Ramon, but some of the people that are leaving us because the demand for employees is so great in our technical side of the business. They're leaving for better conditions for them, better pay, better benefits, better whatever it is. There's a group of the younger ones that are ready to jump. We have seen an exodus, and we're replenishing them, but we don't know how long this is going to sustain. I don't know if you have had to in the corporation start raising salaries to keep people, but this is something that is definitely being an issue. People looking across the fence for a greener grass. In terms of what's going to happen in the future, one question that I had is this pandemic that has gone around every 50 years, we have a crisis like this, but is this making the corporation, your corporation, Ramon, think of, indeed, you need more automation? You need less people? Is this pushing your management to think, okay, but it's going to happen in 50 years from now, so maybe there's not a consideration of immediacy to increase what you were doing before? That was one question that I had for you and their group, actually.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Rod, and the answer is yes. I mean, we've been very aggressively looking for automation in the last 10, 15 years, but this is going to no more than speed up for many reasons. Number one is getting people is more difficult, and the working conditions are normally on a table when we're hiring. But number two, with inflation and with the increase in wages in general, I think many projects are becoming more attractive in terms of return of investment. So I think the combination is going to support, I think everybody to search for better ways to eliminate some positions in many areas. I think it's a major challenge in some cases, but we have to find solutions for that, no doubt.
Yeah, I would echo also what Rod is saying, is that the biggest surprise, I think, for us at Zeppelin was the same thing, was simple things that you wouldn't normally think would be difficult to obtain, piping and fittings and couplings. It was the biggest surprise to me that you just take for granted that you can order that and get that, next week. It's not a big deal. And our suppliers are telling us it's 10, 12, 14, 16 weeks out to get common stuff, where we were more concerned on the silos and the bigger pieces of equipment that may come from Europe. That hasn't been as big of a problem as we thought it would be. We hear about the shipping issues, but it doesn't seem to be affecting us as much. Our products aren't sitting in ships and container ships as much as we thought they would be. But also the instability in the pricing of that raw material. The stainless steel pricing is, we actually had one vendor that basically told us that their price was good for 7 days. How can you quote and sell anything in 7 days? It's literally impossible. Mm-hmm. So that's been hard to do, because we've had to put contingencies either within our proposals or within our statements of our proposals, that if from some reason you don't buy for 90 days or 120 days, that you may have to pay a surcharge on the stainless steel or even carbon steel pricing because of that. The other thing that we're seeing is delivery times to our clients, to like Bimbo. We're having to extend the delivery time for the project, where normally they'd be able to get something in 4 to 6 months. It's now, in most cases, 6 to 8 months, maybe even 9 months. So that has really stretched out the time frame for those projects, and also is costing the client the return on investment, because now it's a longer time frame before they're actually going to be generating any money from those projects once they get them in place. And Rod, to echo what you were talking about automation, especially in the last year, I would say that has been a huge increase for us, where we're getting a lot more requests for debottleneck type situations to be automated, where they used to do it manually, because a lot of the bakeries may have 15 lines and they can only run 12 because they just don't have the personnel to do it, and they're fighting to keep the personnel. And that was one of my questions to Ramon, is how are you guys attracting, what are you offering, or are you paying above the normal pay scale to get an experienced technician, say a controls technician? All this automation is going to put an extreme pressure on you guys to have those highly specialized control guys to be able to run your plants. If you go to the automation route, how do you think you're going to tackle getting those type technicians and retaining them once you've got them?
I think we're doing all of the above, Eric, with these technicians. labor is super complex, and it's I'm not going to go to the technicians only, but if you have a bakery here and then Amazon decides to put a big warehouse blocks down the road and provide $3 or $4 more per hour for people starting with them, you have to do something. And that is happening. That's what I mean when I said we're having inflation in wages, and inflation that is much higher than anything we have had in the last 10 years. And I believe the industry, and in general the American consumer or the American retail, I don't believe we have had an inflation situation like we have today in 40 years. And it's not only the last 10 years, it's 40 years. We have not had this inflation in that much time. And I don't know if you remember, I would say fortunate, but not fortunate to have that experience in Mexico back in the 70s and 80s, where the inflation rate reached levels up to 100% a year in a couple of years. And the way you manage in that circumstances is completely different than the way we manage when the economy is stable. And I believe that's a challenge for labor. And if we're going to have more automation, to your point, we need much more technicians. And technicians, and that's the right balance when you do automation for only cost reasons, because technicians are more expensive than line operators. So at the end of the day, what is the right balance, and what do we have to do, and what are the other reasons that are not necessarily monetary in terms of putting more automations? I mean, you can pay more, but if there's no people available, we need some other devices to do it. So yes, we have to do it. We have to hire very good people for managing all these systems, and train them and invest in them, and make sure they're going to stay with us. It's super complex. It's not easy. There's no solution, but we're paying special attention to that area.
So for some of you that are on the call that are ingredient suppliers, has the disruption in the supply chain, what impact has that had on formulations and changes that you've had to assist the bakeries to make because of not being able to get certain ingredients?
Hi, Kent. This is Bill. Yeah, we've very similar to the equipment manufacturers that are on the call this morning. We've seen really extended lead times in raw materials. Ocean freight is delaying a significant number of raw materials, and I think overall we've seen an impact on crop-dependent raw materials. Just getting those, the availability is not there, and a move toward more readily available technology type ingredients has certainly been the trend, which feeds right into the people challenges that we've got that I think just about everyone spoke to, Ramon, you in particular, with these new technology ingredients in the bakery. We've really stepped up the training programs that we've offered so that we can assist clients with implementing some of these technology ingredients in the bakeries to try and compensate for some of the availability challenges that are out there.
Yeah, I think in the ingredient side, the challenges have been to be proactive and trying to find solutions really quick. We had the gluten issue a few months ago, and that was really hard. I mean, very difficult to deal with that. But there are options, and that came with I think very good learnings at the bakery level, at the technician level, in finding solutions, even when most of them were temporary solutions. At the same time, to your question on ingredients, ingredient suppliers, Kent and Bill, I think you would agree with this, but this is also opening options and potential business opportunities for ingredient partners, because when you have some problem here, you can probably find a solution there. And I believe that opens potential possibilities for all of our partners. Pat, I believe that also works for you, right?
Yes, Ramon, it does. I think at the end of this, though, I do believe that we're going to come out of this with a better understanding of or application of enzyme technology. And I'm not just saying that because I work for a company that makes enzymes, but I think there's going to be a lot of push to make the formulations, bread formulations, and so forth a lot meaner or a lot leaner. Just gluten, for example. If you're on the bakery side, you know that gluten tends to be a little overused anyhow. A lot of the plants have done a great job of reducing the level of gluten that they're using, adjusting their formulas properly, and quite frankly, they're making some pretty darn good bread out there with it too.
Yeah, so maybe I'd speak up just a little bit. I'm new to the industry, everyone. I'm 5 months, six almost with AMF. I come out of factory automation. I worked for a company called Festo before AMF. And the last 5 years, I lived in Germany. And I got to tell you, the United States I came home to this year is way different than the United States I left 5 years ago. And it's not only COVID, but to talk about labor, I'll give you an anecdote. I was in Whole Foods the other day, and I think there were 50% of the people in the store were shoppers, professional shoppers, people that are either working for the third party solution or working for Whole Foods, which is Amazon, and doing delivery service. And that industry really didn't exist before COVID, and now it's blown up. And it's delivery of groceries, it's delivery of prepared food, and these are, let's say, unskilled labor positions. And I see that, and then I see the struggles that we have, and we have relatively skilled labor requirements. But you see, maybe a bakery operator would fall into that same category, on the pay scale, and they can say, well, I can go and do grocery shopping, which is pretty easy on me, or I can stand all day and tend this equipment in a bakery. And I think that's the kind of vacuum that's sucking the jobs. Ramon mentioned it. Amazon is expanding like crazy. We're all buying stuff online and having it shipped to our house. So they're expanding rapidly. They're putting warehouses everywhere, which again pull from that same labor pool. So I really see there is a widening of the gap between let's say, the knowledge workers, so people like us, I guess, on the call that use our brains and can work from home, and the laborers, and that gap is now widening. So what do we have to do as tenants, as the leaders of industry? We really have to fill the gap with knowledge, and putting that knowledge into equipment, from my point of view. And it's not like this can be done in a vacuum. I work for AMF, very well-known equipment manufacturer, but we can't do it alone. We have to do it with you, Ramon, as the end user of the equipment, and we also have to get component suppliers and ingredient suppliers. We have to get the ideas out of everyone, and make, let's say, the process smarter. And I think Patrick mentioned, gluten, and something simple like not banging hands around on a conveyor, shaking the dough before it's on the way from the proofer to the oven. Simple things like that and automation can touch on ingredient usage. So it really has to be a collective effort. We have to put our collective brains together, and we have to make the process smarter. We have to make the machinery smarter, maybe even make the ingredients smarter, certainly the handling systems for them. So that's where I come from. What is AMF doing about it? We have at the same time, coincidentally, been pushing digitalization and Industry 4.0 smarts into our equipment. That's been a big push for us this year. We want to make not just predictive maintenance possible, but prescriptive maintenance possible. So the machines can actually tell the operator how to fix them, how to work on them. And I think this situation has accelerated all that because there's definitely a need for it. So, Ramon, from your side, are you pushing this digitalization Industry 4.0 topic as a solution to the current situation? What's your feeling?
We have been developing also the same thing. We have internal developments of that, and we call it Be Connected. It's a worldwide initiative that we have, and it's about gathering information from the lines and being able to do some machine learning, artificial intelligence, algorithms for the future. And we're also using options that you guys, the member community, have been offering to us. We are working very close with major software companies like Microsoft on this initiative, working together with them, and also software application. But internally, we are developing our version of GB Connected, is how we call it.
Thank you, Ross and Ramon. Mark, what are you seeing as far as supply chain disruption with Emerson, and how are you guys addressing it?
Well, I think obviously everybody on the call certainly made some very, very valid points. I think some of the keys that we're working on is communication supply management, with our customer base. In other words, getting more engagement with their supply management team, having more communication, like I said, regular meetings, of that, because obviously everyone from a components standpoint is in pretty much the same boat, so to speak. So we've been, kind of updating or upping our game with regard to communication with the supply chain and with the sales group and the engineering group. We're also doing some preliminary now, when product is available, kind of the staging process in terms of, if they order a number of components and we have the availability to ship those, where in the past, it was kind of a just-in-time type scenario, and then the inventory levels were such that they were doing that. But now, that again, that communication process, so that when we have availability of product, we are shipping that, and that communication is also, improving. I think to Rod's point too, and obviously I think Ross touched on it too. The digital transformation, the labor issues, those are all very, very prevalent within the industry. So what we're doing now is just looking at more of that automation piece and how we can help. We're also, getting more engagement with the engineering teams, hands-on, on-site, when product is shipped, and working with our customers in terms of, their projects, kind of looking at those projects and see where efficiencies can be made, where, we can, cut costs and reduce costs. And again, to that preventative, predictive maintenance issue, and then obviously carrying that on from our OEM base, who are sell to, as well as the end users like Bimbo, kind of that more communication and development. Obviously, this particular time frame is very critical. So we've opened those lines of communication, tried to kind of, like I said, stage some of that from a product perspective in terms of shipments. So that's what we're doing.
Thank you, Mark. Leah, we haven't heard from you. What has been the experience during this last 20 months with DSM as far as trying to handle some of the challenges presented by disruptions in the supply chain?
Well, thank you, Kent. You know, I'm just a sales rep, and I have a wonderful list of customers that I work with. So I've been just trying to do what I can, and focusing on presentations to customers on technologies that may work for them, following up on leads that come into our internet. And there's been quite a few people that are still doing product development and requesting acrylamide reduction. So working with their folks remotely. Generally before I would go to the location and work with the people there, and now everything has to be done on virtually like today. So that's new, but trying to primarily through this, I've been trying to do exactly what I've done all along, but find new and creative ways to get the customer engaged. I'm staying very close to my customers on demand. If you're going to launch a new product, when, so we can make sure that we have inventory. As the other folks that market enzymes know, they don't take up a lot of space. So if we're in a time crunch, we can always air freight material from Europe over here. So we've had a little bit of flexibility. Of course, it's a little more expensive to air freight, but we really haven't seen an issue with being able to supply the enzymes because we have that flexibility. And just primarily staying close to the customer, staying close to Bimbo, staying close to all of my customers to find out exactly where do you see things going, so we can anticipate any shifts. So, and I'm just, golly, I wish we could get back to being able to visit customers in person. I don't know how that's all going to work out, if we'll be able to meet and have meetings again. So that's an uncertainty, but I myself personally, I'm just trying to maintain and keep good communication with my customers and see what's happening and join this. I think this is so innovative. I compliment you, Kent and Amanda, for putting this together. I attended one other one, and I wish I could have attended others. I think it's great to all talk about how we're doing things. So thank you.
Hey, Kent, I believe we're getting closer to, I got a warning from Amanda, so I think
I want to make sure we don't run out of time and have to cut somebody off.
I have a question. One of the things that we're seeing from our customers is projects that in the past may not have, passed their internal financial objectives or rate of return, basically coming off the shelf. I got one customer that's pulling robotic equipment that they have had in their warehouse for 8 years, and they're trying to figure out ways to use it. Are you seeing the same thing, Ramon? A different view, looking at capital projects that in the past had not been viable, but now are?
No, and in terms of having something in the warehouse and we're going to use it now,
Not in those terms, no.
In terms of opening new projects for labor productivity or streamlining production in some way, using some tasks, I think we have a huge challenge everywhere. It's not only the bakeries, and that's probably my comment. I am also responsible for supply chain logistics. And in that area, we do have the same type of problems with labor and talent. And when you have a place where you have people that the only responsibility is moving product from point A to point B, I think there are ways today in technology to do some labor improvement in terms of adding robots or adding AGVs or things like that to reduce labor, and that is going to be a speed up. We have to test a lot because most of these solutions are not necessarily completely developed, but we have to do it, and we're doing that. I think the challenge is also with drivers, and I think the autonomous vehicles are going to have a big push in the next 3 to 5 years, and especially for the long runs. Probably the last mile is going to stay very close to what it is today. But I think in the long runs, we're going to have more of the autonomous vehicles. And it's the same thing. It's a combination of labor. It's a combination of working conditions and safety and everything else. But that is going to be growing a lot in the next few years. And with that, the next of technicians that are going to be able to support all that in the companies, outside the companies, in the government, etc. But that is a potential business growth. I would like to make my last comment on this, and frankly, I really appreciate the support that you guys have been providing to the industry, not only to Bimbo Bakeries, but to the industry, because I believe we have been able to execute projects on very, very, very difficult conditions, both with ingredients, with equipment, with everything else. And that is very complex. We were able to have a remote ASB baking tech last year, and that was new. And we were able to have it and have good discussions, and we learned a lot. So I really believe that in the future, the things are not going to be the same as pre-COVID. And with the learnings we have had, probably we're going to gain a lot of efficiency. And so I thank you guys. I thank you all the people in the bakeries that they have been able to feed America and stay safe. And I think that is a big accomplishment for the industry, Kent. And thank you all of the ASB team, Kent and Amanda and the others for your support and keeping this alive during this time, which I know has been very, very challenging. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramon, for
Agreed.
your time.
Thank you, Ramon. Martin, I know we didn't give you a chance to say anything. Do you have anything in addition to what Ramon had said about BBU and how you're coping during this?
Thank you, Ken. Exciting moments for the industry. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. We are not going to end the same situation we had previous pandemic. For our frontline associates, we need to adapt and advance in providing them better working conditions to attract the new generations. And I echo Ramon's comments. Thanks all our vendors for the support. We need their support expediting projects and as well supporting training, because we have new people, a bunch of new people in our operations.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Ramon, for hosting this. Thank you for everybody being on the call. Yeah, the last 20 months have been very challenging for our industry and for all the associations that try to support you. I just want to let you know that we are planning on a face-to-face Baking Tech March 1st through the 3rd in Chicago. As long as the city of Chicago is still allowing meetings and the doors of the Hilton are open, we will have a face-to-face Baking Tech, and we'll make sure that everyone is safe when they come. And there's just this huge pent-up demand for being able to see everybody face-to-face and network and share some information. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that takes place next year. So I hope to see everybody on one of the future coffee breaks. And then mainly, I hope to see everybody face-to-face in Chicago next March 1st through the 3rd. So everyone take care. Thank you very much for being on today's call.
Thanks,
everyone. Thank you.
Be safe. Bye.